left. Oh my gosh. Oh wow, yeah. And it's like in disuse for quite a number of years now. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that church that took it over just let it go. Wow.
We can go around the back if you want.
Getting surround sound. 360.
In those days, $10,000 is like $1 million.
Well, our first gift was our very first gift was a $5 check from Luann's housemate. Sister, what's her name?
Nancy.
Nancy, what's her name? Nancy something. Yeah, but it was a check for $10,000. The woman was married to a psychiatrist, and I can't remember. Julie? I can't remember.
And, you know, I was definitely going through that period of self-assessment with the Europans, actually, and I
Yeah.
lived on the same college floor as this one in '96, and ran into her again probably right after you moved into the house.
Yeah, 3 or
around
4
that
years
time.
ago, yeah.
Completely random. And now
And
she
I
lives
live
in the
in
house,
Sarah's
or in the
room.
room that this
Yeah.
one would be. Go figure. But the way that the Karen house has cursed me is that I carry it around with me all the time. And I don't think I had really fully understood that until, you know, I wasn't around as much as Sarah was, but I don't think it really hit me until last night, coming back and seeing everybody, how much I had been involved and had allowed folks to influence me in everything from very subtle to really profound ways. And so anyway, I was working at coffee shops mainly, and finding ways to not use my brain at all after a pull out of school, and kind of not figuring out what the hell I was going to do. And now I could not possibly imagine doing anything different. I work at a social services agency now, in a low-income community on the south side, and it's I can't imagine doing anything different. And I now, looking back along that strange kind of winding journey, I can connect it back to whatever, some sort of seed that was really planted here. And so I guess I just want to say thank you. Because I really found out who the hell I was and what I was supposed to be doing, whatever that means. But I can really connect back here. So I really like biking. And just like if you find yourself biking everywhere, you kind of de facto turn into a representative for cycling. People ask you, why the hell would you bike 3 miles to work every day and things like that? Well, I think that's kind of what the Karen House has done to me. I find myself being a representative for what this community is all about. Being a representative for people people who are struggling through their lives. I'm a representative for trying to create a community of integrity. And so, just by default, the Clearing House has cursed me with, even as much as I try to avoid it, being a representative for what this house is all about. So that's how the Clearing House is.
Oh, I remember curse. Everywhere I go, people give me donations for Clearing House.
And you can't go anywhere without schlepping stuff with
Yes.
you.
I can't
Yes.
say no
Yeah.
to
Me neither.
donations.
Yeah.
I
Amen.
just want to say that the Clearing House, the Catholic worker, found me at just the right time and literally changed the course of my life. I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be interested in what I am. My vocation would be completely different. Thanks to Mark Schimmel and Tekka and Becky for coming to my freshman class at Webster University and asking us all to take house. And I was like, all right, why not? You know, I came from completely different backgrounds, and you know, it was my first exposure to any sort of thinking like this, any kind of spirituality that was sort of actualizing the world and lived out on the Hudson River. And my eyes were open, and my life hasn't been the same. So thank you guys for who you are.
Oh.
I'd like to say that one of the big blessings I've had from being associated with Catholic Worker is that it's convinced me that living in such a diverse and wonderful community has convinced me that even at my age, I don't have to stop growing.
Here, here.
Packed full of people, and we all shared stories about Mark, and toward the end I felt, and I didn't say it then, I don't want the opportunity to pass again. I wanted to say in community that I love you, Mark, just for people to hear that. And I want to say that now, I love you. Oh. This has been such a, you all and this place and this building and this community and the guests, Dorothy coming by, all that. It's been such a deeply transformative time that obviously stays with me. All of you, it's been wonderful. Thank you. I have to say that out loud.
It's a pleasure.
For posterity.
I just want to say, you all stay with us. I mean, it's been so long since you've all been here that you might feel like the house has moved on from you, but it hasn't. Your stories, your names, the newest community members that come in and know them and know the mark you left on the house. Like, you're all still so much a part of the life.
It's kind of fun in a way. I was thinking, you know, we make decisions by consensus, and then you have this ongoing, these rules and this tradition, and people come and they think, why do we do it like this? And we go, oh, it's because of this and this and this. And it's all built, and we change things and we start over, and you know, but we do a lot of building on stuff that, you know, like Mark Shue left us with stuff for 20 years.
Putting the lock on the stove, do you remember how long we did that? Because
I still go through the knives in the drawer.
And that's
There you
because
go.
of Elijah.
Oh, that's Elijah.
He was one of the first families, the Suttons, were there, and he was a very disturbed kid. He would even stand and rock.
that was
Not just-
Stephen.
No,
it was
Elijah
Elijah.
was the rocker.
Yeah.
Elijah rocked.
Boy,
and
I remember
Elijah
Stephen
took-
doing it like crazy.
Well, Steve did
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
did
yeah.
do some, but Elijah would take a knife and go under the children's table that we had in what's now the adult sitting room and hold it at his stomach under this little table. And Luann could get him to put the knife down and come out. She would sit and talk softly to him, but he was so sort of fiercely focused internally, I think. Anyway, that's why we, way back in about October, when the house was open, we put the knives away. Yeah. And Elijah's now 42 and a plumber.
Oh. Plumber. Can you give me his name?
I promise you, it's way better than having a doctor in the family.
There's so many things I want to say. But I just want to say something that hasn't been spoken about at all, and that's the round table.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know why to say this. I want to thank this community for keeping it what it is, and being so faithful to that tradition all these years. It was such a major part of our lives, and I think it's such a major part of this movement to take tradition seriously, to take scholarship seriously, to think and declare, to do it publicly, and you all have carried that tradition on so well. And I get it in real, and it's just, I don't agree with a lot of stuff, I don't have to. The point is, it feeds me, it engages me, and there's so many things I'd like to say, but that hasn't been spoken of today, at least in the person I've been in. And, it's a great part of this community.
And Bill Miller was one of the people who really helped shape it in its current.
I do a lot of thinking and that kind of thing of this current community and things like that. And my response usually when people talk about the current house community is like, you have no idea how screwed up they are. But it's interesting being in this setting where you all lived in screwed up, flawed, fractured communities, and look back at that experience in a hopefully sort of whole way. So that's kind of inspiring to me when you're mired in sort of the muck of it all. Taking that step back is really awesome. And sort of related to that, sort of not one of the things that has inspired me throughout my time here is the roundtable. And a few years ago, we went through a project of putting all of the old roundtables online, so you can download them. By which I mean general. But that was so inspiring, just seeing all the way back into the first few issues. You all were right on, and that we can take issues from 77, sorry, and they're still relevant today. And, I mean, y'all were writing issues about women's ordination in the early 80s, and, like, all these powerful things about nonviolence, in the late 70s. So it's just, we have such a rich history because of all of y'all's voices that, that continues to sort of build what we have. So it's mind-boggling to me how awesome you all have been and how awesome this community has been, despite all of our fractures.
And how awesome it is. You all doing great stuff.
Such beautiful color.
It is a curse the roundtable though in a way, because you know how like you look at people's whatever vacation or some pictures and you're like, wow, that whole thing was fun, that whole week, and vacation was fun the whole time. And Virginia has actually been helpful over the years because I'm like, people were the hardcore ones. We are soft and not hardcore, and you all were awesome. And it's great because Virginia's been like, please. We did a few things like that. Pretty real.
They spent those $20 on,
That's right.
Wild
yeah,
living.
and then you tell stories like that, and I'm like, God, they were so much more hardcore.
That was fun, actually, because all of our needs were met. Absolutely every need was met. It was just this wild $20. You couldn't appreciate $20 otherwise.
The standard now is 100, so we're probably
So
about,
there you go. It's probably
cost of
equivalent.
living.
But unlike you, Virginia, I learned to really be very careful of my $20 and piece of pie. You know, and yeah, I had the exact opposite.
You gotta tell them the Oreo story. That is such a not
$20 worth of Oreos? I can't imagine.
That is a pre-Karen House story.
I know, but it fits though.
Do tell, do tell.
Okay, well, that's not the first one. Yeah, so I really learned how not to spend money. You know, and it's like, well, how do you live when you don't have much? Just don't buy anything. I mean, I really learned that from that experience, and you realize, wow, I can go several days, a whole weekend now. I mean, living here, so yeah, it's very different.
Right. Yeah.
Have everyone gather.
I wanted to do this all day long, so I'm going to do it.
We're just trying to be on a timeline for Janet, who has to catch a bus at 6. So we're going to try to just get started, and Janet, when you need to leave, you go right ahead. But we can stay started most of it that way. Especially on the gift that Karen House and Cass House has been in our lives. We call upon you and ask that you continue to guide and inspire us, and we ask for the presence and guidance of our brother and sister community and guests who have gone before us. Mark Shue.
Madam, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you ill or in prison and visit you? And she will say to them in reply, Amen, I say to you, whatever you did for the least of mine, you did for me. Then she will say to those on her left, Depart from me, you accursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and the devil's angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. A stranger, and you gave me no welcome. Naked, and you gave me no clothing. Ill and in prison, and you did not care for me.
How beautiful.
Speak your peace. How beautiful on the city streets are the lips of those who speak your peace. How beautiful. I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out warning, I'd hammer out love between brothers and sisters all over this land. I'd bring it in the morning, I'd bring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd bring out danger, I'd bring out warning, I'd bring out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. Ooh, if I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing out danger, I'd sing out warning, I'd sing out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. Well, I've got a song to sing all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the hammer of freedom, it's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the hammer of freedom, it's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land.
He's with you. Definitely shaped my life is that Taka and Virginia and I were at Jim and Katrina's second son's birth, Abraham.
Oh, yeah.
Was in North 18th Street apartment, the upstairs apartment on the right-hand side.
Front room.
In the front room. And it was one of the most amazing births I have ever witnessed, and I've been to several now. Anyway, I just want to thank you all for that, not only for having Abraham at home, but also just that you invited the three of us, and the three of us were his godmother. And anyway, just to watch, and Jim actually caught the baby, caught Abraham, and it was just such a beautiful, beautiful experience to watch. But it was even that was such a sense of real community. Katrina was just amazing to watch in labor, and it really was beautiful. And then Jim was there, and then afterwards, Katrina had made a pot of chicken noodle soup. You know, like it was just as Katrina would be able to do. But so she said, you know, in her very seconds of postpartum, she said, you know, I've got some soup on the stove. People would like to, you know, and it was just an amazing, beautiful experience.
By the way,
And yeah, so thank you all both for that.
I think Jim was whispering into Abraham's ear, think for yourself.
Sit down.
Abraham's grown up to be very tall, and of the four boys, he's probably the most masculine, broad-shouldered of the four. And I remind him that he has three powerful godmothers, because he needs that feminine. So I'm inspired to bring him back here so that he can meet you. And I feel like he's at a time, he's 19 now, and he's at his soul-searching age, and I think it would be really good for him to meet these really strong women. As a strong man, I perceive him to become a strong man. He's the brother of the four that all the other brothers come to. He's the one that they lean on. He's the one that they come to for counsel. And so I'm recording this right now, Becky. And
oh, she sure is.
Yeah. so that
Oh, pretty.
so he can see his godmothers. See. Yeah, that was.
Oh, that's really pretty.
This is on loan, so, but it's, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Becky, very, very much.
Well, everyone, please share your photos and videos. How are we going to do that? Because I'm.
Teams, 2 people to a car. We load up with blankets, snacks, gloves, scarves, soup, whatever, and we head out. And last year, we actually had segmented off the city. We had those lovely maps.
On this board is going to be this thing, instructions to facilitators with a handy checklist. This handy checklist is for those who might skip steps. So you can check them. I don't know why I did this. We know you was going to do this. I don't know why you did it. Come on. I don't know about I will.
So, what did you learn from seeing Tech at the Winter Shelter, facilitating that? What did you learn about her? Is that too specific? That's not specific enough either.
Well, I've just answered that.
Okay.
That is that implied compassion, because it's natural thing for her. She just does it and does it and does it. There's never this moment of like, oh guys, this is really like what I'm doing here. It's difficult. I just want you, like, it's just so assumed for her. And it's really great.
So do I have to hold a button down or?
No, it's going.
Okay, do I look pretty?
Gorgeous.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to look at Abraham too. Okay. So Peter Morin was a personalist, and he brought that vision to the movement of the Catholic worker. He was from France, and personalism grew out, especially grew in France during the 2 wars of World War I and World War II. And it was an interesting time, obviously, if you know, in between the wars. What it was like, the terrible, so many things that happened, and there was such a lack of belief, a lack of faith. I mean, talking about the rise of unbelief. Because the church, in many ways, as it has many times become enculturated, it identifies with the wealthy and becomes like the wealthy. And although it's often doing great things for people, I think a lot of people who saw the rise of capitalism, the rise of the church in the Middle Ages, they saw the churches, being very a part of that. And so so the church was in crisis, and then also additionally we have in the beginning of the 20th century, you have capitalism in the industrial age, and so you have a rise of capitalism and individualism, a belief that the human person can do amazing things, which is a great thing. And you have, at the same time, in kind of rejection of that and some of the excesses of capitalism that cause poverty, you have Marxism, with sort of a belief in collectivism. And so the neat thing about personalism is it tries to bridge, in some ways, this idea that no, we are not individualists living for ourselves, and no, we are not a collective that has no freedom or personal value. But personalism looks at the human person as having inalienable rights, not rights is the wrong word, but dignity, undeniable dignity. That every person is sort of the face of God in each person. God is imprinted, God is alive in each person. And so this is why I don't think that much is out there, although I do in a way, which I have to say about what I think about faith. But the beauty of sort of Christian personalism, so basically it gives the possibility of a human person who is capable of knowing themselves and knowing others and choosing to love another person. because sometimes it's a choice. You can just do for yourself. You're choosing to love them, you're choosing to love the other. But that capable thing of a human person also makes for the possibility of community. So personalism tries to be this, it's not we live as individuals doing our own pursuits and hopefully that will filter into something beautiful for a community. And we're not the collectivists who have a thing that everybody has to fit into, but we instead believe that each person is valuable. The community is what makes is part of what is the beauty of the human person. So it tries to have this third way, in a way. And one of the greatest personalists I've known is John Kavanaugh, who just died, my very close friend who I loved more than life. And I'll never forget, I was in a class with him when I was about 20 years old, so right around your age. And I was sitting there in class, and I had gotten kind of cynical in my later teens, early adulthood. It was disheartening because I had such high hopes as a young person. If you think I'm a romantic now, you should have met me when I was a teenager. And so I was so just dashed that people weren't perfect and was kind of disheartened. And I wouldn't say that. I went around, for a while, I called myself an agnostic. I never said I was an atheist, but I called myself an agnostic. And by the time I met John, I'd kind of come back to believing a bit, because I'd been at the Catholic worker a little bit. But I'll never forget, I'm sitting in John's class, and I had kind of been arguing with him for the first maybe month or so of his class. He taught a class on the human person, and his vision was personalist. And he talks a lot about sort of how culture caused us to see people's value in terms of their purchasing power or their relationship with things, or so that we get commodified. We get commodified. We become commodities. We sell each other. You see a beautiful woman, you buy her. We become commodities ourselves instead of precious and I can't come up with the word for whatever it is. So anyway, so John finally said, so in opposition to this view that culture has of a human person being completely just worth what they make, worth how they look, valued by all these things that are related to things, the person really you set up the personal form. And his vision for the ideal personal form, where the person could be a person, was Jesus. And he talked about Jesus rejecting the temptations for wealth and power, those temptations in the desert. And he said Jesus let go of everything for love, so that love could be fully in him, that he became fully realized as a person who could care for others. And so this to me is like the vision of God in us. And so if we see with that light, it totally changes how we live our lives. If I see the face of God in you, or I see myself in you, and I know that I cannot make it without you, or we are all one, it changes how we live our life. And so that to me is the heart of personalism. And then if you see that, if you see people like that, and you want to make it easy for them to be good and be their best person and be their smartest person and use their mind to their best ability, then that is what the choices you make in life are, to cultivate those things instead of cultivating the things that kill us, destroy us, leave us hungry. And so anyway, so that is the great potential of human beings. And our minds and our capabilities are part of that. And so it's just that belief in that. So I don't think what you're saying was contradictory, because it really is. To believe totally in a person and in their capability. But I believe in that because I believe in God, because I believe in love. And it's, if you want to say, you could say that by saying it's all of us together. And to me, I'd say, well, the body of Christ is God. I mean, so it is kind of like, it's similar. The one thing I do think about faith is I do feel like it's very easy to follow our egos. Our egos are bigger than life. And sometimes they lead us to do amazing things because we have a lot of personality. They carry us forward to do great things. But sometimes they just help us fill ourselves up with ourselves. I feel like I know that. I feel like I face it every time. I don't have to look in the mirror. I'm just like this all the time with myself. But anyway, so I do think there's something in meditation and prayer, and letting go to love, and love flows through us, so that I can better see you, so I can listen to you. We have this mantra that we do at Cairn House. It's God, open my eyes to see you, open my ears to listen to you, open my heart to follow you. And it's, if for you, it could be open my heart to the universe of goodness, of love, of intellect, of brilliance, of light. You know, it can be these things, but I do believe it's that God is actually something other than just me, and that's really important. But personalism is, to me, in the Christian sense, Christian personalism, it's seeing the possibility of God not rejecting us, but becoming more with us. And in that embodiment, us embodying us in this world, in this concrete way, and in our need for one another, our realization of our need for one another in the whole, that we find joy. So anyway, that's kind of, and then there's other types of personalism, you know, that don't focus on the religion so much, and there's a lot of aspects of it. But the heart of it basically is this idea that of the freedom of a person to be good, to care for others, as opposed to, it's a different sense than individual living for themselves, but a person in their fullest capacity.
When you say there's other forms of personalism, you mean within the work or?
No, within the, you know, global philosophical community, is, you know, but basically, and there's, you know, it takes different avenues. But Mounier was the main French personalist. There's an interesting thing to look at. There was a whole movement in France in this period, and it's really interesting to read about the Maritain, Jacques Maritain and Marissa Maritain, were a couple that were an amazing couple. They had a pact, a suicide pact, to kill themselves, but they didn't find, I forget, it was love or goodness or something. They were just, it was in a rough time in Europe, you know, between the wars, and anyway, they ended up finding personalism. I mean, they changed their lives, and they became a force in the Catholic Church that changed generations of people like Dorothy Day and Peter Moore, and, you know, and imbued the Catholic workers imbued with this vision. And so the personalism then flows out into us for nonviolence. It flows into anti-war. It flows into living in not taking power, but sharing power and having others, equality, and equality in the sense of not everything equal, but each person having the fullness of the beauty of who they are. So if we were in a group, like my group here, one thing I feel like I am good at in my work is I'm not good at a lot of things, but I'm good at knowing what people are good at. And in my group, I let everybody be really good at what they're really good at, and that makes us as a whole an amazing group. That's my best job as a facilitator, is I know that Whitney can do things I can't do. I know that Mo does things I can't do. I know this person. And my little job there is to help kind of keep all that going. But it's those other people who do the things that, you know, have the resources, you know. So anyway, so that's the quality of our group, is that we share decisions and stuff, but we each do what we're good at doing. Anyway, so that's kind of personalism, is to see the specialness of the person. So in our community at Cairn House, it changes as new people come. If you joined our community, we would be different. You would bring a whole new life and a perspective. And anyway, and it takes all of us. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Just that.
Do you have a response?
Yeah, do you have something there? Let's turn on your sun now. Turn on your sun now.
Something there.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just struck me. However, when I talk to people who are what I would call, I suppose, spiritually enlightened, how similar our beliefs are. Like, it's usually the case that their beliefs and my beliefs are the same if you just strip away the word God and replace it with humanity, or, you know, in my case, vice versa. They're basically the same thing, and it leads me to believe that, on a practical level, it doesn't matter that we believe differently. It is interesting. You know, I always come to this idea. I'm very idealistic. I believe in the idealism is the difference. I'm not just like, oh, things could be this way. I believe that, first of all, they should be a certain way, and second of all, that they like can
Really
and if they were worked towards. Because whenever I bring up my beliefs to someone, so often the response is, "Oh, if only." And if everyone said, "Oh, if only," then clearly we have a big enough consensus that we want to move in this direction. That people, if you just did it, then it would happen. And so, because I am so idealistic and I do have my beliefs about God and religion and all that, in this perfect world, it is sort of a thing. In my view, in a perfect world, I'm not really sure that religion would take a place in that, because people would be so satisfied in the just shared beauty of the human race and of life in the universe. I mean, humanity is pretty awesome, but just looking at the universe is amazing. The fact that there are nurseries where stars are born is just, fascinating stuff. So in that world, people would be so satisfied on that level that I don't really think there would be a need. And you can't say that to someone who is religious, because they don't do it because it's a need. It's just the way that they believe. So that is kind of...
It is a need though too. I mean, for me, I think I need to believe in something more, something bigger than just myself. No.
I guess I get that sense. Maybe, I don't know, I've never really been strongly spiritualistic or religious, so I wouldn't know, but I get a sense of bigness from humanity. I mean, it is sort of this like overwhelming thing that I can be a part of, and I guess that is what a lot of people religious feel, is they can be a part of that. And it's always just been humanity for me.
I have a question for you. Put it back on me, because I want to say this. This is one of my things. So, I felt really kind of creepy when my friend died, John Kavanaugh. I had this experience that I've never had to this degree. And maybe it's too because I'm 55 now. When I was younger, I thought I'd live forever. And now I'm 55 and I know I'm not going to. And I've lost now many, many close friends. John was one of my very closest, probably the closest friend who's died. But I've had many close friends who died, and I often can bounce back as soon as they died and think, okay, I'm so sorry they died. I miss them. I'm going to miss them forever. But I've got life here now, and I started living again like this is everything, and this is eternity. But what happened different for me this time when John died, I thought this world can no longer contain all goodness. I felt like it was no longer eternity. I absolutely was convinced for the first time without any, I just knew if John was not here, and John did live, and I believed in the goodness of John. And unless I think everything is completely chaotic, that there had to be something bigger that John was still a part of. And not just John, but that love could not be contained by just this life. And I wondered if this was what the disciples felt when Jesus died. That he died and here was everything we believed, and now it's gone. But no, we believed in that, so it's got to be. And so there's a sense, so tell me what you think about the afterlife. This is my, of course you're probably not thinking much about it at 19.
I can't speak to it on that level, because I'm 19 and I've never dealt with a death that close to home. I've had grandparents die and it was sad, but it was expected. And I guess, there is a certain sense of that. I'm 19, I'm gonna live forever, or at least for a long time.
You just didn't care. You do care. I don't know why, but you still do.
But it's interesting because my roommate is atheist, and is an atheist too, and he's terrified of the notion of non-existence after death. I mean, absolutely, it keeps him up at night. But he still believes because it makes sense to him. And it makes sense to me, but I'm not terrified, maybe because I think I'm going to live forever. But I'm not really that afraid of the non-existence because life has so much more. And I think if I do it correctly, then death will be more of a, I don't know, to use a cliche, an old friend as opposed to a terrifying new experience. I don't personally believe in an afterlife just because from an atheistic and logical point of view there isn't really any specific evidence to support that we can stay alive and everything after this. You always check and die, pop up a map, pop back on And of course, that changes, Mom's beliefs about reincarnation. You get this, well, this is how we learn as human beings, which is another kind of sad thing, because if it takes us so many lifetimes to get where we're going, how are we ever going to get where we need to be?
I can't go for that. Sorry. I'm exhausted. I'm 55 and I'm tired. I don't want to do this again. I'm just kidding.
How would you say that privilege might have impacted your choice?
I remember saying that I felt very aware of being at the worker and living with guests who mostly had no privilege. I had very little. I remember realizing that my parents had taught me to work and what a tremendous privilege that was. More really than my schooling. My schooling was okay. And certainly having a BA opens doors, makes things possible. And being white. It's just so clear that you can get by with things being white that you can't. It's like there's no forgiveness, there's no joy when you're black, there's no. But a white young person can be a little goofy and irresponsible, and people say, oh, isn't she something? She's just got a wild hair, she's grown up, But a black person is not allowed any space to be wrong ever. So I was very aware of that. And I remember, really, I think for different reasons, but I remember being aware as I came in my early teens about the disparities in how people live, and thinking that obviously didn't make sense, and that I wanted to be about bridging those and healing those. So one of the first things I did was, when I was still in college, I tutored kids in this neighborhood, it turned out, to help them catch up in school from the disadvantages they were born into.
Abraham was commenting on how young he must have been. I told him that you were one of the foundresses of Cairn House, and he was commenting on how young he must have been. And it seemed like from the story.
25.
Yeah. Does that seem young?
Yeah. Very.
You have to be young and stupid to run in, walk into something like that.
Well, it seems to have become quite successful.
Isn't that something? It is wonderful to me. Although it's very clear to me that, there's a beginning and then there are all kinds of people in the chain. It's not like I caused most of it at all. But it is wonderful to see the chain continuing.
So how quickly did Mom and Dad and Becky and Becca all join up?
House opened in 1977.
We came in 86. So that was 9 years later. And Virginia, I'm curious this is an egotistical question a little bit, but when we were watching the videos earlier, since you've experienced so many different types of community, what was it, we talked a little bit about this during the meeting, what was special about that period of time, and what marked it different than other periods of time?
I think the maturity of the people who were there. And there was a good balance between really supporting people in who they were and calling them to be who they said they would be, which I think is a real fundamental flaw in the worker. That is not normal. You're just supposed to tell, everyone is absolutely on their own and everything everyone does is okay. Well, it's not. It's just not. And there was that balance of people lovingly helping each other be who they were.
How about this? What did you take away from Virginia?
I guess a sense of strength, especially in the face of adversity. She seems to have, at a very young age, made a very conscious decision to do something big, and it worked out well. And she's led a very purposeful and powerful life. Yeah, a sense of accomplishment. And she's very happy with herself, which is nice, not in an egotistical kind of way.
In a commentary that John actually wrote for today's readings, he said, conceivably, the text is not so much a warning about the end of the world as it is a commentary on living in it. This day, this moment, this life is the time to bear the fruit. Another year whirls by. Seize the day. As our projects and preset intentions mount, as our labors and tasks surround us, as our entertainment and doodling whittle away the time, we may forget the upshot of our lives. It is to love and evoke love, no matter where we may be, from nursing home to classroom. It is to welcome the opportunity of each moment, each breath. Since we do not know the hour or the day, let this be the hour. Let this be the day. Let this be the time we live and die. In this commentary, John goes on to describe the life of a dear Jesuit friend of his, words which I will now use to describe John himself. John Kavanaugh somehow embodied all of this for me. He made this gospel passage of Mark come alive, as he did for so many texts, for so many people. Cherishing the past, envisioning the future, he was always in the present. Here we celebrate the mystery. This moment we accept the grace of God. Today we laugh and mourn. This place of sorrow we entrust. This instant of laughter we bestow. In the end, he was a wise man, offering truth not only to others, but entering them himself as one diving into the depths. Thus, somehow, even in his sorrow, he seemed to have a joy that glistened. Even in his victories, he seemed to let it all go for something larger to embrace. John gave the funeral at his dear friend Ed Maganaro's funeral. He gave the homily. He said then, and so, what would Anne say to us who grieve about this wide wound of death, over this great wound of space that separates us now from Anne and from all those who have passed into the other world? I think it would be the words of a poem she wrote over 10 years ago. Its final lines are these: and all the space between us is filled and flowing with love, and the wider the space, by God's bounty, the larger the grace thereof. John chose the following quote for his Mass card from Pedro Arrupe. More than ever, I find myself in the hands of God. This is what I've wanted all my life. But now there is a difference. The initiative is entirely with God. It is indeed a profound spiritual experience to know and feel myself so totally in God's hands. Gratitude, present moment, love. Most certainly words to live by for all of us. Attitude of abundance, awareness that this present moment is enough, loving and invoking love, trusting with all our hearts that God is here for us, words worthy of our living, and by the grace of God, words worthy of our dying. This month we celebrate and remember those whom we have loved and lost. May we continue to live in their memory in endless song, with gratitude, awareness, and love. And finally, I invite you, if you will, to close your eyes, to take a deep breath, and to listen to John's own voice, letting the music touch your soul. Happy Thanksgiving.
What do you come away with? What do you take away from this trip?
I'd say a greater faith in human compassion, and I don't know, a sense of roots that I didn't know existed. It's been very powerful to meet the people that were around when I was born, and realize how easily they fit into my life now. And I think a more comprehensive sense of living in the undeveloped part of the city, which is something I've always been curious about and never had first-hand experience with. Yeah, I guess it was a great reconciliation, both in terms of my spiritual beliefs and my economic beliefs, in terms of and my nature versus city life beliefs, in terms of just realizing that there are healthy aspects to both sides of the spectrum.